Hello, and welcome to episode 203 of the FReality Podcast, your fortnightly fix of the latest VR gaming news. We have a jam-packed show for you lined up for you. We have a jam-packed show lined up for you today as we're going to be talking about PSVR2 and the upcoming PlayStation State of Play event. We discussed the recent leak of Meta show. Oh God, what is going on?
You're doing all right there, mate?
It's a good start.
What is going on?
Right?
We had technical problems before the show.
We are doing podcast in VR. Thanks.
We're doing
for
a podcast
coming.
in VR. Apologies. Right. Let me start again. Reset. Pretend this never happened. Men in Black. Flash. We have a jam-packed show lined up for you today as we're going to be talking about PSVR2 and the upcoming PlayStation State of Play event. We discussed the recent leak showing Meta are working on bringing PSVR cloud streaming to the Quest. I tell you how to fly Top Gun Maverick's F-18 in the new free DLC for Microsoft's Flight Simulator. And to round up this epic show, Zim has got some new game releases for us to look forward to. But for now, let me introduce you to the team and find out what's been their highlight from the past couple of weeks. Also, let us know what you've been playing in the chat so we can read out some of your highlights too. So first up, this guy's back, and he's back with a vengeance. He's a one-man band that loves to stream to an exclusive audience consisting of only himself. It's the one and only ZimTalk5. How you doing?
Hello, Mike. Hello, gentlemen, boys. It's good to be back. I did have, I feel like, that, I don't know if it's Mariah Carey or who the artist was who sung that back in the 80s. I'm a private dancer, but I feel like sometimes I am a private streamer. It doesn't happen often.
Times are rough in Canada.
But recently, well, we've had a series of events, and I will tell you a short story. So first off, I got all my stuff. And as you guys know, guys and gals know, I wasn't on the last show, so I was unboxing we're about 200 plus boxes through, about 230 box load. So nearly there now. House is fully networked, at least in first phase. So that's good. The kids are happy. Wife's happy. I've got my den of deceit down in the basement. Some of you saw we did a walkthrough kind of home tour, just so for those who are interested in what we've got over here. And then a weekend later, last Saturday, there was this massive storm here, which actually killed 8 people. Trees fell on people. I was out in the car going to pick up my wife's birthday present, and I got the text from the government that said shelter immediately. And that my heart starts going like, hang on a second, it's like a perfectly fine summer day. There's no storm. Like, what's going on? And I'm like, I'm only 12 minutes from home. I'll make it. And so as I'm driving, the weather starts coming on very fast. Now, I've been through like Cat 4 and Cat 5 hurricanes. I grew up in the Caribbean. And like this was quicker change in the weather that I've ever seen in my life. Really dramatic. And as I was pulling up to the last intersection, just before the turnoff to home, this giant white wall of weather just crosses my car. I'm getting battered from left and right. The car wants to flip over. Like it's so violent. I feel like I'm in a tin can getting shook up. The lights in the intersection go out immediately, like almost immediately. It's really traumatic, like the movie Twister. I'm not joking. And the cars opposite me that I'm going to turn across, I just made the decision. I'm like, I'm going. And so as I turned in through the intersection, the back of the storm gave me a big kick up the bottom. And I flew through the intersection, almost hit a pole, got past that.
Did you hear that? He just flew through it. He didn't even drive anymore.
I wasn't driving. And then I blindly drove the rest of my street just from the small things that I could see, but I could see none of the road, none of the homes, like there's just various bits and pieces. And as it was going, trees were falling over, big trees. It was absolutely nuts. I pull in, I shout to the wife and the kids who were upstairs, kind of seeing the chaos come and knowing that a tornado dropped in Toronto a few months before we landed. I'm like, we're going to the basement. So we went to the basement, hunkered down there on battery power. Being a streamer, I've got plenty of lights, so we did that. We played a board game for 3 hours, came back upstairs, and it was okay, but we were out without power for a week and a half. And still, we have a massive branch on our back 3 lines. So it's kind of like an any day now thing. And ever since then, I've been getting these like little network hiccups. So you'll probably see it while we're streaming today. And so I've been dealing with that. Last weekend happened, very exciting. And then trying to get my kind of streaming setup working so we can get back live properly with all my equipment.
Crazy.
So that's been a very exciting last week.
It does, yeah. It sounds like an eventful week. But the funny thing was about you, the whole streaming thing was because if you go on Zim's channel right now, there's like a 59-second clip, where he was clearly live, and then the famous last words were, it's doing it again, and then it just cuts off. And how long did you stream for? Only yourself. Like, how long did you stream for, thinking that you had an audience there watching you live?
Yeah, so Thursday was when that happened.
Multiple days.
Hence the intro. So what you saw, that 58-second clip, is actually last night's thing, where I tried again to push. I restreamed, so I tried to push to YouTube and Twitch at the same time, audiences
right.
both. And that first night, I was streaming, and the problem I've had this before, like when I tried to do like a couples meetup in Windlands 2 with Tyrael and his wife and me and my wife, is...
Wait, you're like double dating in VR now?
We were double dating in VR.
This
Wow.
is not the first time that this has happened.
And you're swinging through the woods? Would you say that you were a bunch of swingers?
Wow.
Yes, we would happily say that. I think.
Wow.
And,
cool.
But it was just...
Wait, and you had the longest rope of everyone?
That's too far.
We need to measure this. That's horrible.
Okay, let's
wonderful.
Sorry.
But yeah, no, so I ended up streaming to myself for about an hour, 20 minutes on the Thursday.
Wow.
And then on Friday, I kind of just
do
cut it after that.
How do you not know that you're the only one there? How do you not know that?
Because there's like 5 or 6 people talking to me, and it sounds like they're reacting to the live content. And it's still getting voiced out over like Twitch, like TTS and everything. So it seems seems like we're having an interaction. If there was nobody there, nobody talking at all, but I have some really devout fans who will sit there and have realized that I don't always go live on time. And so they're just kind of chatting away, even chatting to me, even if I'm not responding. It's so weird. But that has happened. So shout out to my audience who are devout fans, obviously. We did have a stream, at least to Twitch yesterday, so that was good. And my highlight of the week, given you're going to ask me that next, would be I went golfing in Skyrim. So I got Skyrim working again, which for anyone who has a heavily modded Skyrim isn't necessarily easy. And then I had a manufacturer of VR equipment send me. They sent me this, which is a like professional, $70 golfing thing, so that I can best my dad in Golf Plus at some point, I suppose.
That is
so they sent me 2 of these. And I thought this long pole with the Quest controller on it would make a perfect pokey stick for giants and mammoths and the like, and that we would go, doing 4 and knocking crabs off of mountains and stuff, which we did. So that made for a fun stream with a new golf stick. That was my highlight.
Wow.
Cool.
Wow. Thank you very much for that, dude. Also, I want to say congratulations, by the way. 5,000 subscribers on YouTube.
Hey.
I've crossed that boundary about 6 times now, but yes, it's gone over the last 2 weeks. It's kind of hopped up and down and up and down. So
I'll congratulate you every time.
You.
Yeah,
you should get yourself a play button, just like Mike when he hit like 10 subs.
Yeah, exactly. I changed it. 10 subs, 20 subs, 50 subs every time.
He has so many play buttons. If you go to his house, his whole hallway is full of play buttons.
They're all just made out of cardboard. Yeah, exactly.
When I hit 5K on Twitch, we ate a Toblerone, which was a small Toblerone, and then someone bought me an 80 pounds sterling, like giant Toblerone, a 4.5 kilogram one. Wow. Massive thing, like an 8-pound bar of chocolate, and eating through that over months. You're like gnawing on the triangles are that big, and it's honeycomb and all this. I lost a tooth to it, man.
It's like mold on the edges from like eating it and leaving it for a week.
That's dedication to the cause. That is
like
losing
a
a tooth.
family,
Yeah. Anyway, good to be back. Nice. Great show with Denny and GT last week. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah. It's been a while ago. We have seen you on the show. It's almost like I forgot you were a part of it.
Nathy missed Jim.
Yeah, true. Jim Barnaby.
Oh, and one thing, very important thing made it. Mike, you made it.
Hey, that's way in the background.
Wow.
Glad to see you didn't get ditched in a bin somewhere. You can put them on eBay. Yeah.
I will. We're just waiting.
Yeah, one day. So next up, this guy's back from an adventure on the Isle of the Lost Skulls, where he was searching for hidden treasure. He's the Captain Jack Sparrow of VR. It's, of course, Nathy. How you doing?
I am doing fine, Mike. Thank you. So I'm not gonna talk about Rec Room. I'm not gonna bore you with more Rec Room. No, again. I always reminds me of Rowdy when Rowdy like played a prison boss for like a year, and we kept hearing the same stories, and after a while I could dream about it. So I'm not gonna do that. No, I'm gonna talk about something else instead. So my highlight, I would say is that, well, it's pretty much Star Wars week. I think that's amazing.
Yes.
There's just so much to watch. There's like this big convention in Anaheim with live streams, with
and
interviews
Eric is
with
there.
all the...
Our friend Eric is there. He got to meet Ewan McGregor, which I'm super jealous about.
Mr. Obi.
Why did they pick this week instead of May the 4th? I don't get it.
It's just it's a celebrate around a convention. So you have that, what you just mentioned, and then you have this, and it's huge. It's crazy. Like just imagine having like thousands of people there dressed up as their favorite characters, going to workshops on how to wield lightsabers, how to make your own droid. There's like stuff for everyone there. It's crazy, and I just love watching that stuff and kind of have the feeling I'm there. If I get the opportunity, I will definitely go there sometimes. I think it's amazing to just see the passion there. And I'm not a huge Star Wars fan myself. It's not like I know all the lore and I know all the little bits, but it just feels like one big family. You just celebrate it's an important thing to a lot of us, right? It's not just, it's a science fiction thing. I mean, my brother, for example, was like, why does this look so bad? Why are you a big fan of this stuff? And why is it all like aliens and things? But it's just much more than that. I think every one of us has like a character that you can relate to, or, but to kind of extend on that, so a week before this whole celebration thing happened, I played a VR demo and where you can go pod racing. Now, this is something that has been requested for like ages, I think. And I've already played like multiple pod racers in the past that just never, got finished as a VR project. Maybe they got taken down by, Lucas Film or Disney. I don't really know. But I still think this particular thing, like pod racing, lends itself so well to VR. Just imagine this being like, for example, Dash World or something, and this is a multiplayer. It doesn't necessarily have to have a whole story around it, but just you can race against your friends or random people on all these like famous planets, have your own ship, maybe have this double dash feature that you have in Mario Kart where you can have like someone on the back throwing stuff at your enemies. Like, have like your Mando on like this cute version of the Razor Crest or the new ship that he has, and then have like baby Grogu on the back throwing things. I think it would be so funny,
Throwing toads.
Yeah, I mean, you could come up with anything, but I would love to see that. Like now, we have seen a few Star Wars VR games, and they all kind of go for the same thing. It's okay, you have some blasters, you have a lightsaber. I'm like, try to explore something new, and I think
Squadrons
this is something.
Squadrons
true, but that was VR support, so it wasn't necessarily that they were planning to. But I agree, it's one of the best experiences that you can have. But this demo is crazy because you can go super fast. I think I went like 400 miles per hour, and it just like the everything just flashes by. And for now, it's just a demo. It's very simple. Like maybe I'm hyping it up too much now, but
where can you try it?
You can try it on itch.io. I don't know the exact link, but if you just Google Pod Racer VR itch.io, then you'll definitely find it. And you can play it on PC. This is not something that runs natively on the Quest.
Okay.
But I was a bit disappointed afterwards because I thought I found like this genius thing, but apparently it's already a year old and no one has really paid attention to it. So hopefully this will kind of spark the interest. I don't know about you guys, but I'm not necessarily down for another kind of Galaxy's Edge kind of experience or another Vader Immortal thing. I would rather have something, that goes for multiplayer or something just kind of different in genre,
I wouldn't mind a Vader Immortal style experience, but like in the Mandalorian universe, I think that would be really awesome. Like if you could actually pick up baby Grogu and like take care of him, I think that would be epic.
Take care of him like you did on that spaceship where you flushed him out the airlock?
Yeah, definitely, 100%. He deserved it.
I would like to see something in the style of like Skyrim, but then in like the Star Wars universe. I think that would be awesome.
Oh, yeah.
Just something
Knights
huge.
of the Old Republic done in VR.
Exactly.
Would be really cool.
Or remember that one, I don't know the name anymore. It was like this swords fighting game that you could play multiplayer against each other. I don't know what the name was.
Jedi Knight?
No, but like in VR, just a multiplayer swords fighting game that you could play against each other in this like small arena. Like imagine doing that, but then with lightsabers. And like I just want something multiplayer, Star Wars with friends. I think that would be amazing. And something that just isn't the Galaxy's Edge thing. I thought that was kind of disappointing compared to Vader Immortal in the end. It wasn't that great.
The old N64 Star Wars Pod Racer game, like that VR fight, is obviously what this is pining for. The closest thing is actually what you mentioned last week during releases. Thanks for covering that, by the way, Nathy. The Epic Games Store release of, like they gave Redout for free. Redout has several ships in it that are literal like pod racers. So if you want to go super fast in a pod racer style, not in the canyon kind of maps, but on a slightly different type of course, then that's a really high fidelity VR kind of pod racing sim experience. And if Epic's still running that, then you can maybe still get that for free. It's probably expired by now.
Well,
that's Redout. So
I think it is expired, but talking about free stuff on Epic, you can play BioShock the Collection now for free. And you keep it as well. And these are all the remasters, by the way. It's not VR, but as I am super fan, give it a try. It's amazing.
Nice. So pod racing, you can find that on itch.io, but it's for PC only. Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. So next up, this guy was once the fastest YouTuber alive. And he used to make a living breaking out of virtual prisons. Everybody say howdy to Rowdy. How you doing, dude? You all right?
I'm doing great. Unlike Zim, we haven't had. They did give us the weather warning, but the storm didn't really hit us. So for us, we only had a little bit of gray clouds, and that's where it ended. I did manage to get into some VR. I know that we spoke about it a couple of weeks ago, where I tried the Cities VR experience, and I also tried little big cities, I wanted to say, but it's
little cities.
It's little cities.
little big planet.
Little big planet was like was going through my head.
Great.
Yeah. And I have to say, I'm actually it's a very different game. So I'll maybe highlight some of the good things and some of the bad things. I think the good things, I'll start with that because I actually like the game. I really like the art style of it. I think that the art style really suits the game, that happy bluish kind of environment. You play on an island. The UI is, I think, great. I think it's far better than the one that you see in Cities VR, because it was one of my complaints is that, you need to click through so many buttons. They work with like a smartwatch. And when you turn your watch, then you get this nice little info panel popping up, which shows how much energy your city uses, how much water your city uses, how much money it makes, all of your information that you really need, you get from that. And then where it differs is indeed, we thought, more in the detail of being a city builder. I don't necessarily think that this game is really focused on the city building per se, because it feels more like a little bit of an arcade experience. You're constantly trying to level up your city in order to get to the next level. While I think with Cities VR, it's more you build your power lines and you build your water supply lines and all of that. You need to build all of that out, and that is more of a city builder experience. But I didn't think that the city builder experience was that great in Cities VR. What I have with Little Cities is that I think what they've done really well. And that the game is fun. I think I played it for a good 2.5, maybe 3 hours. That's roughly the time that I spent with it. And I enjoyed my time with it. I finished one island, and I was a little bit thinking oh wow, is this it? Because you unlock things by leveling up your city. You get new kind of buildings that you can place. But then when I jumped into the next island, you also have different weather events occurring that you can try and modify. So you had sandstorms on something. You had to plant trees in order to avoid the sandstorms from making your population unhappy. So I mean, there's more things and more buildings that you can unlock as you progress through the different levels. I haven't figured everything out yet, since there were some of the buildings that I couldn't get working as I thought they should have. But the game is fun in a way that it's an arcade experience. If that's what you're looking for, just building the cities look great. They look very, very beautiful. Then this is a really great game. The negative sides, and I think that's a little bit something that I also said with Cities VR, is that the city doesn't really feel alive. Like you're building a city and there are cars driving, but there's no people walking around in the city. Like the buildings don't really have any particular meaning. It's just like you have 3 different zones, and you have, even though it looks nice and I like the art style, it doesn't feel like it's a city that I really care about. It's not something that is alive.
Do you think that's just because of the limitations of the Quest, though? Say if the game was on PC and it had a bit more graphic fidelity, you'd enjoy it more, maybe?
Yeah, for sure. It isn't per se the graphical fidelity, I think, that bothers me, because I think the graphics look great. I really like the art style. I love everything about that. But there's no life in the city. It's like going into Skyrim and all of the NPCs, instead of moving around, they would like just stand or not even be there. Like It would just be an empty town, and you would have to go in there and speak to someone or like whatever. So it feels a bit empty in that way. Like I know that from like PC city building experiences. People have jobs and need to drive to their jobs. You need to make sure that they get public transport, and you see sometimes then in an area where there's a lot of crime, you see that like police arresting someone, or like you have a little bit more stuff going on, and that is probably a limitation of the Quest, where you have like not the computational resource in order to like make all of that. That's just something that I kind of missed in this one.
So the big question is, which one would you go back to now if you had to choose one out of the 2?
Yeah, I think I would go back to Little Cities.
Okay.
Just because I had a smoother experience, I think, with this one. And also, even though I like the more detailed kind of experience that maybe Cities VR offers, I think that still needs a bit of work in order for me to really enjoy that. Because I find it more like a hassle in order to get through some of the things, or like to figure out what was wrong, or like it wasn't just as smooth of an experience like Little Cities was. And also, I think the grid building in Little Cities is also done very well. It does, of course, get like, because it's more arcadey, it gets a little bit more repetitive sooner, I think, because you're just building stuff the entire time. While with Cities VR, you have a little bit more variation in the amount of tasks that you do.
Interesting. Yeah, that was a good summary. Nice one.
Yeah,
it's a good one though.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
Nice. I think some people are saying we've got some issues with the stream. The stream froze.
Yeah, I can still see Nathie moving, but both Zim and Mike are frozen for some reason.
Okay.
So welcome to the 2 show podcast.
Can you hear me though? Can you hear me? Like, even though I'm frozen, can you hear me okay? Is that coming through?
Yeah, I can see.
Yeah.
Always look concerned.
I think it's beautiful. It's like this painting. It's like kind of artistic, Mike.
Zim is not coming through in audio, strangely enough.
Okay.
So let's see what the chat have been up to before I move on to my highlight.
Let me just 1 second, because can we still hear Zim or not? Because yeah, no, I just want to make sure before I continue.
No, like it's still something wrong with this.
No Zim. Yeah, no Zim. Sorry about that.
I can hear Zim, but the stream can't hear Zim.
Yeah, there's the audio seems to be like not coming through anymore.
Is it something to do with the NDI, can he rejoin? And maybe that'll open up this.
You can try that, yeah.
So while he does that, if Nathan reads out what the chat has been up to while Zim sorts himself out and rejoins.
Yeah.
Cool beans. So let's go to what the chat has been playing. So first of all, we have Sexy Bicycle. Yeah, great name. Who has been playing Apex Construct. Feels like a hidden gem. That's kind of funny because I think a lot of people who now have a VR headset or got one 2 years ago, they didn't even know this was a thing. Because I think that came out when, the Quest wasn't really a thing yet, right? So that's interesting. Then we have Watto UK, who played a lot this week. Star Wars Squadrons. Yeah,
nice.
Well, this is good timing. We have Red Dead and Cyberpunk 2077. And then last but not least, we got a donation from Sampler19. And he says, got to try out Rogue Ascent again. Now that it apparently got hand tracking 2.0. But that's something I think you are going to also dive into, Mike. Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of the things I checked out. I've had a busy couple of weeks, really. So the first thing I jumped into was Pavlov. It's been a while since I've checked out Pavlov. But I jumped into it because the developers announced that they're going to be coming out of the beta and they're going to be releasing on the official store. They're also dropping support for Quest 1, which is a bit sad for Quest 1 owners. But the game is officially releasing as a Quest 2 title, but it's going to be a paid title. So I kind of did a little video to say now's the time to jump in and play it for free while you can, because we don't know how long this process is going to take, but it can take days, can take weeks, can take months. But yeah, if you want to check out Pavlov for free, now's the time to jump in and do that now. The other thing I checked out, like you say, is hand tracking 2.0. Yeah, with Rogue Ascent, it was like a highlight of me and Zim. What was it? A few weeks ago now, we played it. Basically, like you point your fingers and you can shoot your guns. The really cool thing that I really love though is you point them up in the air and they spin round and reload. So it kind of has that like kind of RoboCop spinning gun vibe about it, which is really, really cool. But yeah, hand tracking 2.0 is really impressive. It's not perfect, but it's definitely a huge improvement over the original hand tracking tech. You can now clap your hands. You can put them together. You can even occlude one hand over the other, so that the tracking cameras can't actually see your occluded hand. But they do a lot of clever tech, and basically are able to predict what your other hand is doing that the cameras can't see, which is really impressive tech, especially for a headset that's like $300, £300. So yeah, pretty cool. But that's not my highlight though. My highlight and the thing I want to talk about is Resident Evil 7's banned footage DLC, which I played in VR thanks to Prey Dog's recent and free VR mod. I think Zim might have played this before, but the banned footage Volume 2 DLC has a game mode in it called 21, and it's essentially a game of blackjack with a kind of a sinister twist. So,
horrible.
Yeah, you play this character called Clancy, and he's actually the camera guy from the prologue section of Resident Evil 7. So if you play the game, you'll know that the beginning section of the game has like a kind of camera crew going into a house. And you play that guy. And basically you've been captured by Lucas, who is one of the Baker family. And one of your hands is tied to a chair, and the other one is in this kind of like device straight out of a Saw movie.
Yeah, it's really
so your
Saw-like.
fingers
Finger guillotine, right?
Finger guillotine. Well done. Yes, it's exactly like that. And you basically play 21 against another guy called Hoffman, and he's also being kidnapped and is being held against his will. But instead of betting...
Which is also funny because I think Hoffman is a character from the first Saw movie.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
I think that is Hoffman.
Interesting. But yeah, so instead of betting money for this card game in 21, you actually bet your fingers. So if you lose, you're violently, you get your fingers violently chopped off. And the game kind of escalates from there, and it gets a little bit more grim a bit later on, but I won't spoil it for you if you want to check it out for yourself. But I felt like it worked really well in VR because you're seated the whole time, so there's no movement you have to worry about. There is a little bit of artificial movement with the camera that you're not in control of, so there, when it kind of zooms into your hand when a finger gets cut off or whatever. But apart from that, I think it's pretty comfortable to play. You can't use motion controllers with this particular game mode. You can with the other DLC game modes, but it's not really a problem because your hands are kind of bound in the game anyway. So using a gamepad doesn't feel unnatural.
But
yeah.
how does it? Because there was this one VR game, like you had to keep your hands on your keyboard or something, and there were like snakes crawling around and spiders, and you start feeling them. Is that kind of same with this, where if you put your hand kind of on the same spot and you let it happen, that you start to kind of get the feeling that it's real?
It's quite fast paced, and you need to use the bumper buttons on the control pad. So you need.
So
you
have no time to really put your hand there for a quick moment.
Like if you could put your hand in like an ice pack and it numbed it out, and you were getting that kind of like phantom pain, like that would be totally epic. But yeah, I don't think that's something you could do with this.
When I did this, what I did was I took a piece of board or something, and they splay your fingers out in that finger guillotine, and I did that for the stream when we did this back on PlayStation ages ago.
Oh my god!
So the fingers were actually spread and held down. I don't remember how I got past that controller mechanism. I might have just used my mouth or something, but we were playing it that way, and you get that phantom sensation that Nathan's speaking of. So
I suppose if you were playing with a keyboard, you could do it one-handed, but using a gamepad, you need to use two hands, unless you remap the buttons, of course. But yeah, a lot of people are playing through Resident Evil 7 now in VR on PC. Obviously the first time we've been able to do this, but not many people play the DLC because not many people know the DLC exists. But
it's so good. But it's only about 50% of it that's VRable, though. That's the thing. So you have a room escape, you have a survival game, and you have like this one, which is like, I don't know, personal torture. But the DLC, I've always said with Resident Evil 7, I'm glad you stepped into it, Mike, because it's all worth playing. All the VR stuff is really good quality, and they're very different games.
And that's the thing, like I'd never played this 21 game mode before, and playing it in VR for the first time, I was just like, this is just so awesome. This is like really, really like immersive. I feel like I'm in this room. And like I say, because you don't move, it's just super comfortable and you can play it that way. So yeah, if you're playing through the Resident Evil 7 in VR for the first time on PC, I definitely recommend you could buy the DLC and check some of that out as well, especially the 21 game mode. So yeah, that's my highlight.
Nice.
Good pick.
So let's get into the news then, because the first thing I want to mention is a special birthday this week, as SideQuest is actually celebrating its 3rd birthday. I can't believe it's actually been 3 years already. Like, it's crazy. Like this last 3 years, I feel, I know we've dealt a lot outside of VR, with the pandemic and everything else, but it feels like that's flown by, really.
It's weird because I remember us like discussing the problem of not having anything in place for developers to test their stuff.
Yeah.
And then suddenly this arrived, and I think it went pretty quickly. Like, it got popular very fast.
Huge. Like, SideQuest is huge now. And if you don't know what SideQuest is, it's like this tool that you can use that you can easily sideload new experimental games and experiences onto your Quest. You need a PC to do it. But that was the way we did it before AppLab basically turned up. So a year ago, AppLab turned up, and it kind of like took a bit of the relevancy away from SideQuest because people didn't necessarily need to use it anymore. A lot of the content that was on SideQuest came to AppLab, so it was much more convenient to just click on a link and add that content to your headset instead of having to connect your headset to a PC and sideload it. So they did lose a little bit of relevancy there, but it's still very much a useful tool, especially for creators as well. Like, we use it to unlock the frame rate for Quest recordings when we're recording our gameplay and stuff like that. And also when it comes to like mods of like classic PC games that you can now play on Quest, like the Dr. Beef mods that we've highlighted on the show, like what is it, the original Half-Life, Wolfenstein, Doom 3, and more recently Quake 3 as well. Yeah. That's only available through SideQuest. That stuff is never going to come to AppLab because it uses external game files.
The most popular games, or like Gorilla Tag, for example, it's almost like a SideQuest exclusive now, where it's not even necessarily on the official store. It's on the back end of the store.
Well, it's on AppLab, right?
Yeah, but it's also you can play it through SideQuest. So most people who look it up will end up on SideQuest to play it.
See, I think the opposite. I think AppLab is much more convenient, so I think most people will probably play it through AppLab.
But SideQuest has an AppLab section where you can find all the games, so if you don't know where you're looking for, then you'll still end up on SideQuest, I think.
Exactly.
So I tend to agree with Nathan's point there. So like they made a change. It's like a fork in the stream a little while back, where if you go to applab.games, it drags you to SideQuest, and then you can see and experience and find in the search all the other content. That wasn't true at the beginning. At the beginning, it was just App Lab standing on its own, and you had these various pages, including SideQuest, who listed the kind of contents. But I mean, Gorilla Tag's been in the top titles there for the longest of times. So
Virtual Desktop also started on there.
True. Yeah. Well, Gorilla Tag, like you say, started its life on SideQuest before it eventually made it to App Lab. But like you say, SideQuest now are kind of like a repository for App Lab content as well. So they kind of do a mix of both.
And it does everything that Meta doesn't do. That's also the thing. Say, like as you said, like I always use SideQuest to record my footage.
Or stuff that they can't do. Yeah.
Or they don't want to do, maybe.
It's like a layer cake now, because you've got, if you want to really go to like the dredges of the indie dungeon, you go to itch, and that stuff is like projects that someone spent 5 minutes on, upwards to something that's actually complete, and you can purchase. And then the next step up kind of is SideQuest. Like it's really a tinkerer's lobby. And then beyond that, you go to App Lab, because if you didn't know of App Lab, it's another step beyond the main store. And beyond that, I'd say, I guess your main store, your storefront, right? And so we've got a nice kind of cake to enjoy. So if you think content is only limited to the store, you are wrong.
True. It's definitely worth exploring.
I think the next step for SideQuest right now, what I would like to see is that they will be going on other headsets too. So we have the Pico now going consumer. Also, I remember Stan from Link saying like we want to work with SideQuest to also get stuff on it, so you can use that. I think that would really like every other headset that starts to or tries to compete with Meta kind of needs SideQuest.
I totally agree. It's one of the points that I wrote down actually, is that support for Pico Neo 3 is really essential, but that's not actually the case right now, but it is something they've discussed and hopefully they work on in the future. But to celebrate their birthday and to thank the community for their continued support, they're going to be giving away, check this out, 33 Quest 2 headsets, over 650 game keys, along with some of their SideQuest branded merch. So if you're interested in getting involved in some of that action, you can check out SideQuestVR.com/giveaways, and you can enter some of the various giveaways there to win a whole bunch of stuff. They're running this for the next couple of weeks, so you've got plenty of time. Happy birthday to SideQuest. Thanks for this awesome giveaway, because I think it's epic. We've had Shane and Orla, the creators of SideQuest, on the show before. They're both awesome people. So, super happy for them. And, go and support them and check out these giveaways that they're running.
I just checked your website, but it does say we are giving away 2 Oculus Quest 2 64GB headsets. Where did you get the 33 number? Or I was actually wondering, why 33?
I don't know why 33. I suppose three because it's their 3rd birthday. But this is what they've been sharing on their social media on Twitter. So they might be doing separate giveaways for separate things, because I know they've listed a number of them to do with different games and exercises. But all of these giveaways are free to enter. So go and check them out. If you're looking for a Quest 2 or you want a second Quest 2 for your family, then go and check it out. SideQuestVR.com/giveaways.
Are there any notices about geographical limitations on this?
No, I don't think so.
Good.
So happy birthday.
So I have to ask, because we always get that little asterisk. And
you shouldn't complain about that anymore, Zim. Now it's just competition.
That's why you moved. That's why you guys moved, so you can always join the meta giveaways.
Exactly.
You're in the prime location.
That's the reason.
Yeah.
So, next bit of news. Let's talk about PSVR 2. It's like our fortnightly copium about PSVR. So PlayStation this week announced a new State of Play event is coming next week on Thursday, the 2nd of June at 3 p.m. PT. For everyone else, that's 11 p.m. UK time. It's midnight for Nathy and 6 p.m. for my Canadian brothers. Nice. So that's Thursday, the 2nd of June. And they actually said via a PlayStation blog post, we'll have some exciting reveals from our third-party partners, plus a sneak peek at several games in development for PlayStation VR 2. So they're actually saying they're going to be showing PSVR 2 content during this State of VR, which is super exciting, because they had to give a caveat on previous State of VRs to say we're not actively sharing or talking about PSVR 2 because there's so much interest in this headset. So it's great to see that we're actually going to get a little snippet of information about what games we can expect to see. The event is going to be around 30 minutes long. I would expect that the PSVR section is probably going to be quite small, but I'm excited to see what they're going to announce nevertheless. So as of right now, the rumors suggest that the headset's going to come out sometime early next year. That's kind of what everything's kind of been hinting at so far. I don't think we're going to hear anything about when the hardware is going to release, but just the games. But the interesting thing is that separate to this official blog post, in a business briefing to investors, the CEO of Sony, Jim Ryan, confirmed that 20 plus major first-party and third-party titles are confirmed for PlayStation VR 2 at launch. So 20 titles. This is more likely going to mean that these are specifically titles for the PSVR 2 headset. Because we don't know how they're going to handle the old back catalog just yet. They've been super quiet. They haven't mentioned anything to do with that yet. So the backwards compatibility, we don't know how they're going to handle that. If they're going to be able to bring all this old content to the new hardware in terms of an update, we don't know that yet. But 20 launch titles sounds pretty substantial. Yeah. And I was just kind of wondering, like in the chat, and also you guys too, like what games would you like to see as launch titles for this new headset?
I think that a couple of those launch titles are going to be games that we already seen for VR, like Mouse, I think. A bunch, right?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yep. I would imagine so.
I'd love Farpoint too. I'd love another aim controller. I'd love Contractors. Not Contractors. Firewall.
Yeah.
Firewall is such a beast on play. I mean, it's the reason I had it for like an additional year beyond was just the aim controller and that. And so whatever system they have now, I would just love to see. It doesn't have to have another aim controller with it, but that game, generally the shooting games. I mean, I really have enjoyed those so far. But
yeah, I don't think we'll get another aim controller, but I do think we'll start to see accessories from like ProTube and like Mammoth, who make like gun stocks for PC VR headsets. Exactly. I'd imagine they'll easily make one for the new controllers for PSVR 2. What about you other guys? What titles would you like to see?
I think it's hard to say. Like, I mean, I'd like them to like maybe like diversify the genres maybe a little bit more. I'm not too interested in seeing like maybe even more shooters unless they're like maybe story driven. But I would like to see like some. I mean, can I pick like titles that are like not maybe?
You can pick whatever you want, Rowdy.
Whatever I want.
You want.
Yeah,
I would like to see like I used to be like used to be like maybe I still am like a huge Final Fantasy fan. I would like to see something like that coming to
like the fishing, well. The fishing VR experience from Final Fantasy.
Oh,
that was so good.
I forgot about that.
That's a good game.
What was it
It's
called?
just so weird.
I don't know. It was like a side thing that you could play when
right.
Yeah,
I totally forgot that
can't play it
existed.
anymore.
That actually started off. So those I forget the name of it now, but it's a Final Fantasy branded game. You can play on PSVR. Has all there's Chocobo and stuff in it, but it's a fully fledged fishing game that originally started as an FPS that then got canned and transmuted into a Final Fantasy fishing game. Weird, but I played through it, beat it. It's really good fun. But you're beating these massive like anime monsters basically. It's fun.
Wow. I've recently been playing some Prey as well, which is also again a shooter game, but like with a very like in your face kind of story. I think that, and I like the mechanics in there as well, with like where it's trying to mess with your mind a little bit. I think something like that would work really well in VR as well, where like nothing you see is real, like that kind of concept.
Kind of messes with your head a little bit.
Really cool.
I'd like a game like Narcosis for PlayStation, or another like a follow-up to The Persistence, because those were games that were like really good horror. That PlayStation audience tends to like mop up horror titles as well. So I'd like something like that, or maybe we recently had not Silent Hill. What was that? There was a demo.
PT.
PT. Yeah, I would love something like along the lines of PT just to come with next gen hardware, lighting, shadows, and all of that. Like really show us what the platform can do and scare the shit out of us. Like I that's what I want. Resident Evil was
like
great.
the kitchen demo with like Resident Evil, like that kind of like. Yeah. Okay. I get it.
Also, maybe like PlayStation's flagship, like Until Dawn, and then have it in VR, but then also have Decision, so it's more of a movie you're playing, and it's
that sounds cool.
More cinematic. I think what I would like to see is, of course, all the classics for PSVR, and have those developers make something new. If that means a sequel or something completely different, that would be amazing. Like the guys from Static, Tarsier Studios, who also made Little Nightmares. I mean, I would be down to play something in the Little Nightmares universe, for example, where it's a third-person platforming game.
They teased a new project recently, but I don't think they've announced what it is yet.
No. There's so many talented studios that could make something really cool for us.
I just hope they're not only going for like the safe choices. We know what works for PlayStation, so let's just go with that, because I don't think that always applies to VR. But I do hope that they try different things as well.
It does kind of like, of course, when you launch a new headset with games, you always have these standard things like gallery shooters and all these kind of like basic things to get people. But I know what you mean, like
just not only
multiplayer puzzle stuff. That's just like the genres that you
like Static. I think was very different back at the time. Like it was a very different kind of game, and Astrobot was that as well. Like it's not things that we used to think would work in VR, but they kind of like took that concept and went beyond.
Also, Tetris Effect was also launched.
Another one,
like it's like almost like art in VR.
That is a great game and repeater. There's one other one that really blew my socks off playing it on PlayStation. It eventually came to PSVR, to PCVR, which is The Invisible Hours. Which is a showcase, like a multi-timeline story told in 3 acts. It's got a secret ending. I'd love to see a follow-up to that. It doesn't necessarily have to be the same thing. On PC, you also have a game called 1111, kind of a similar like story, a tale where you're hopping between characters and a story is progressing. I found that really captivating, and it was like VR theater. I would love that. I would also like there to be something like akin to The Wave, something where we can go and have a party. One of the best things about VR, like at the moment, that's kind of, call it indie scene, is you can pop into VR chat or Rec Room or something and go see like a music event. There's one I'm going to be attending this weekend that's on, and you get to be social with other people. So I would like to see what PlayStation, what Sony's push on social is, like
PlayStation Home VR, PlayStation Home 2.0. Like it could happen. It could happen. Like it would be the perfect opportunity to bring it back, right? After all these years. But
I'm less interested in that, to be honest. I don't want another social media platform. Like,
I don't want. That's why I went for the music side, because give me a venue, give me a reason to participate, even if they had some mechanism which was only happening around sports events or something that's going to draw people who have a common interest together in social VR.
I think PlayStation
like movie watching, for example, right?
I think it'd be awesome.
They really could kill that, but
maybe.
I don't know. I'm looking forward to it.
But yeah, personally, I'd like to see like Astro's Playroom updated to support PSVR. It just makes total sense to have a free experience that you can try, like a demo, like built into, because like it comes preloaded on every PS5. Totally makes sense that they would update that for PSVR. So as soon as you connect your headset, you've got something to play straight away. But aside from that, same as him, I'd love to see Firewall 2. I think that would be a banger. But one other thing that's worth mentioning is that Fast Travel Games tweeted out a picture of the PSVR2 headset this week, saying we're just going to leave this here. So they're kind of suggesting that they're developing a game or multiple games for the next gen headset.
But that's what I'm saying. Like I think it could be a new game, but it could also be something that. I think we're going to see a lot of ports too. That's just what I'm trying to say here. So games that we saw on PC, like Wanderer, for example, totally worked. Cosmonious High, Half-Life Alyx. I'm sure that's going to happen. I mean, I'll eat a head strap again for this one. But there are a lot of great games that just didn't sell well on PC. That came out on PC that no one really played them, and they would just get a second life on on PSVR 2.
So a little while ago on the show, I don't know if you guys remember, but we talked about rumors of Metal Gear Solid, a remake of Metal Gear Solid having a VR mode. And it was kind of like a bit of an out there rumor, and we put a big caveat out there that, it is a rumor. But there's some more crazy rumors that kind of surfaced this week. And I don't know if you guys have seen this one, but someone's suggesting out there that Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, the remake, which is coming later this year, will have a VR mode exclusively on the PlayStation platform. Again, it's kind of a bit crazy, a bit out there. There's nothing to substantiate this.
No, I checked it. There was no proof, no evidence. The only thing they kind of went for is like, so Call of Duty already had a experience before made by, I think it was Infinity Ward. I remember, called Jackhammer, where you were in space. But that was okay, we do Call of Duty, and it has nothing to do with Call of Duty anymore, and now we can use a spaceship and call it Call of Duty.
Because that was Call of Duty Infinite Warfare, I think.
Yeah, that was Infinite Warfare. It was a cool experience, but when we talk about Call of Duty, we're talking about first person. No Russian, that mission.
Yeah, I think it's probably
talk about.
Highly unlikely, but I think, and as much as we talk about this, I think it's games like that will bring the mainstream in, though. It's the same with Medal of Honor and other games. Like, as much as we talked about this about Boneworks, it's hype for us in the VR scene, but those outside of the VR bubble don't necessarily know what Boneworks is or what it means or how important it is for VR. But it's when you get these big IPs that come into VR, then it attracts a much wider audience.
Like Call of Duty is one of the main things that people buy consoles. It's like Call of Duty, FIFA, and Fortnite. If you bring those to VR, then everyone knows what a headset is suddenly.
Yeah, but I say, I think this one's unlikely, but it would certainly cause a stir if it happened.
But at the same time, don't you think that those are also typically the IPs that leave people disappointed?
Definitely,
because everyone has an idea of how how it should be in VR.
Yeah.
And then they have this idea because it's this big IP and they have this history with this game. And that's why I was scared for Half-Life Alyx as well when it came out, because everyone has an idea of how it should be. And then with Half-Life Alyx, that turned out to be great because it's a studio that is very, very experienced in developing VR for years and years and years. But with this, then I'm a little bit scared because it's an IP that is it's established. They're not going to do anything too risky, and to make VR work, you need to take risk, I think, and that kind of thing. So I'm scared that people have very high expectations, and then they try it and they go
is this it? Another hit, man?
But this is what I said. It could be just a gallery shooter kind of thing where you're now I Call of Duty, and you just shoot a few people,
then the question
and that's
becomes,
it.
Is that good for VR? That the mainstream then has the idea of okay, I tried VR now, it still sucks.
And that's exactly what Denny was saying about the mods, people see us playing mods of Resident Evil 8 and Resident Evil 7. And although those mods in particular are great because they add VR motion support, controller support to them, they're still not great, especially for newcomers because of the movement in the game that you're not in control of, the camera movement. So I think you're right. It's kind of like a double-edged sword there. It's kind of like one of those things that will attract a new audience, but also potentially put a new audience off.
It's always, I don't know, with AAA franchises, it's always so tricky. There's always 80% chance that it's not gonna be great at all because it's not the main focus. That's I think that's also one of the problems. Let's say Call of Duty is coming to VR. The main focus for them is to make a Call of Duty pancake game that is gonna sell well again. And this VR thing is just something on the side. Although, again, with Call of Duty, you could say it's popular, but it's also in decline, single player wise. I mean, Warzone is doing well, but those other games, like the last one, World War II game, a lot of people haven't played it because they make a new game every year, and it doesn't have a soul anymore. So
there was a title, Mike or Nate, you're gonna have to help me out here. It involved what I'll call a dog bird in it on PlayStation. It was a demo.
Last Guardian.
The Last Guardian. I thought that, although at the time it was teleport only, I thought that was really captivating. It was something about this kind of almost pet, this giant animal that you had, and the environment was enthralling. They really need to take some of the heavyweight Sony IPs and convert them over. I really think that, they already did that, right? They did that with Resident Evil 7 so far back. They did it with a number of Bethesda titles. Each of those made their own kind of hallmark. But the thing I'm really interested in is I'd love to see Sony play a little bit of the VR Nintendo Wii hand. What I mean is when we saw the original patents, when they were exposed, they expressed that there would be multiple ways of interacting with the entertainment system. And if they can do that and get the kind of family element in there, multi-people in a room, and do something special, that really it would be something that you would think that Nintendo would do, like Microsoft did.
Like some sort of asynchronous gameplay where someone uses a social output.
Because they don't have a competitor in this space. Microsoft's not there, Nintendo's not there.
Well, that's kind of their, of course it wasn't social, but that's their attempt with their demo disc, where you played all these experiences, and it was this one kind of little universe that they created. But they could go for something that people bought a Wii for, where it's like this, this island, and you can only do all these sports things. And let's say you can do that, where you can just jump around, and then share your screen with your family, or do this Nintendo thing where you could just give the headset to someone else and then they play the next bit.
Yeah.
But I don't know if PlayStation isn't really
more mature.
targeted to. It's not really like for the kids. You know what I mean? Of course, kids play on it, but I do get it's not point, the approach they go for. Yeah, no, it would be amazing.
But sure. I guess we'll find out for sure next week. So mark Thursday, the 2nd of June in your calendars to find out what's going to happen.
So one thing you said like. That's what you said at the start, that you expected them to give some dates on that too, some launch dates.
No.
The opposite.
No.
Okay,
I don't think they'll give
because that
dates.
wouldn't make any sense, right? Because then you can kind of guess when the PSVR 2 would maybe come out.
No, I don't think they'll.
So
give
it's all going to be
dates.
like probably next year for sure. Like probably like coming in 2023.
But this early, are we going to get anything but just CGI trailers? Like, are we going to see real gameplay?
Well, we're definitely going to see a few CGI trailers and a few where I think it's going to be a mashup of all kinds of crazy stuff.
Another one that I am half expecting is Shadow of the Colossus.
Really?
Yeah, maybe.
Okay.
It would work well in VR with the whole scale thing,
There's one I hope we don't get, okay? I'm sorry, Des. Gollum 2. Please don't show us. Until you're ready, don't drop that shit. Thank you.
It's not going to happen in 2023, that's for sure. That's going to come. Yeah.
So that's 2nd of June. So keep your eyes peeled. We'll talk about it on the next show anyway, regardless what happens. So now the next bit of news, quite interesting. This information comes from the internet's VR detective and friend of the show. Sadly, it's Bradley. We should get him on the show, actually. We should get him on the show to talk about this stuff. But a while ago, he posted on Twitter that a string was found in the Quest's software version 24 that referred to something called Avalanche Cloud Gaming. Did you guys pick up on any of this?
Yeah.
Okay. It was suggested back then that this could be the beginning of Meta's plans to bring PSVR cloud gaming to the Quest. But he suggested that it would be some way off in terms of it actually releasing. Well, this week, a member of the community shared with Brad a screenshot seemingly showing that they had access to this Avalanche mode, which was in alpha, and they found it under the experimental settings on their Quest. And then they further said that they were able to activate it and remotely play Asgard's Wrath on their Quest from a cloud server hosted by Meta. Yeah. So again, I would take this one with a pinch of salt. It's kind of a bit out there. They did show a screenshot with this Avalanche Alpha showing there under experimental features, but
there wasn't a switch next to it. It was just like a one of those page link icons, right?
Apparently that's how you launch it. But apparently this person was in the UK. They were able to activate it and like play some of this game. Brad did further say on Twitter that this person said that the quality wasn't very good, and that it might have been because they were in the UK, and these internal testing servers are likely going to be in the US, and that might explain it. So yeah, it's kind of interesting, really, that this kind of has come to light.
Wait. So what pops up in my mind straight away now is like, why they would launch this? Not necessarily because they care about PSVR, but as you may know, like AirLink and also Oculus Link has been such a it's a very used feature. A lot of people also buy Quests now to turn it into a PSVR headset. If they don't do it straight away, they will do it later because they get bored of the library and they want more. And the thing is, a lot of people have used Oculus Home as a gateway to go to Steam. No one really cares about Oculus Home. You just click on the button. You need Oculus Home to kind of get there, and that's it. No one cares about the rest that is just there. And with this, they can kind of restrict people to just say, okay, listen, you can play our library, but it's our computer, our cloud computer. That's all you're going to play. So no more Steam.
That's 100% what they'll do for cloud gaming. They won't be able to restrict that for local PSVR users. But you're totally right. They'll control.
Yeah, it's going to be
that.
like again, they can take control.
There's no way that they're going to allow you to access their server to then log into Steam.
Well, maybe some smart man will be able to kind of, but yeah.
But we do know it's not the first time we've seen cloud VR gaming on Quest, PSVR cloud gaming on Quest, because we had platforms already that have done this, like Shadowplay, which I tried in the past. We also had Pluto Sphere that do the same thing. But both of these services were kind of locked out of the main store, even locked out of App Lab by Meta. because apparently they updated their terms a while back saying that applications that stream immersive VR content may only do so from a local source. That is, a device that the customer has physical access to. Streaming from virtual devices or cloud sources is not allowed. So they kind of put the gates up for other people to do potentially what they're planning to offer themselves. And we've seen this kind of stuff from them before in the past. But yeah, Pluto Sphere, if you want to check it out, is available on SideQuest. Like we mentioned earlier, SideQuest, you can sideload content onto your headset. And Shadow has their own APK, which you can also sideload and access those services that way. But it's not the first time that Meta have said that they're going to, this is their plan, this is in their roadmap, because Jason Rubin said a long time ago that Meta plan on bringing cloud gaming not only just to VR but also to Facebook as well, because they want to have gaming on as part of their Facebook gaming platform. They want to be able to stream games, a bit like what Google did and what Amazon have been doing, and every sort of big company has been sort of dipping their toes into sort of cloud gaming services. But the problem with VR cloud gaming services is it's completely reliant on your internet connection. If it's stable, if you've got enough speed. And even hosting a show like this, you can see the technical problems that we have, and we're just pushing a 2D video stream and some audio. When you're pushing VR and that sort of resolution and that frame rate times 2 for one for each eye, there's a lot of bandwidth to push there. So
with that, the headset could be way smaller because you could take everything out and it's just a pair of glasses and you just stream the whole thing and welcome to the let's say future.
It will happen eventually. I think it's inevitable that it will happen eventually. Like you say, we'll get to that Ready Player One style.
Yeah, there's nothing
headset
in it anymore besides
that just connects to the internet and we can stream. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I think we're a long way from that. But it's just interesting that this stuff seems to be being tested internally.
It's still like as awesome as this is, and I totally I'm totally down for this. But the weird part is like they do this and they'll use Oculus Home or the library there, but they're not making PSVR games anymore. And all the stuff that is on it is like ancient AF. So you're gonna play things you're like, why are the controls so weird and why are the UI and why does nothing make sense anymore? And I think that's kind of the thing. I'm like, I don't see them magically make PSVR games, to be honest with you.
This is a point that, I wrote down is that they would have to start investing heavily into PSVR content again. If they want this to be successful, they have to, because like you say, they're not going to allow people to go on Steam. So then they're going to have to start putting money back into their own lives.
The thing is,
Stormland, like the trouble is, this has been a buzzword for several years now. I want to ask a question here. Like, do you guys use, or do you know a friend who heavily uses, forget VR for a second, just streamed gameplay? Like, I didn't install the game locally. I'm streaming.
I actually know someone that played the entirety of Half-Life Alyx using a Shadow PC.
Your experiences with Shadow, was it comfortable? Was it okay?
It was fine. It was fine. But like you say, you've got to have a consistent connection. The thing with Shadow was that it was never really designed to be used with VR. It was just a cloud PC that you can do whatever you want with. You could work from it, you could game on it, you could do whatever you want. It just so happened that virtual desktop worked incredibly well from it, and people just started to use it that way, to the point where they became completely oversubscribed.
This technology is not that far off. This is definitely in the next coming years. I'll see that coming up far more, considering just the importance of cloud and the improvements that have been made in the recent years. Like, I wouldn't give this another 5 to 10 years before I see this actually popping up. I think it's within
I totally
that time
agree.
frame.
But I think if you think about the amount of Quest 2s out there in the wild now, like we're talking millions. From the rumors that suggest that. If they could all now pay a monthly subscription to activate this PC VR content from the Oculus Store, like there's potentially a lot of money to be had there that they could then reinvest into the PC VR ecosystem, then it could be a good thing for everyone. But, like I said, this is take this information with a pinch of salt, because, we don't know if this is true.
But also, let's not forget that Meta, even though it's not like they're gonna have to, of course they're gonna have to reinvest into building PC VR, but they have a lot of companies that have developed VR applications both for PC and for the Quest already in their pocket. You know, like there's so many experienced VR developers.
Yeah, but then you're bringing. Yeah, but Quest, like PC and Quest, it's a total separate thing. If you bring that, then
I know that,
but also with the state of the ports that we've seen just recently, the PC VR, but like PC VR ports of the Quest game, like why would you log into a server if it looks exactly the same because they're using the same assets?
I'm talking if they're gonna start developing games from the ground up, they'll have the expertise in house to develop everything that they need. Probably far more experienced companies than the companies that are working on VR right now.
I do think they can, like, if this is all true and real, whatever, I do think they can nail the shadow thing. But I am very skeptical about them going back to the PC VR market because they abandoned it for so long that it's not like you can just abandon it and then rebuild it out of nowhere. That's not how it works. I don't think they
see it that way. And I don't think, because if you look at Steam, what is the most used headset that is there?
That's true. Yeah. That's true. Steam has been abandoned as well in many ways. So it's not just just Oculus abandoning their platform.
Yeah, true. But Steam is still getting updates and stuff. Like Oculus Home is just in a state of like a cryo sleep where there's nothing.
Doesn't that put like Meta in like an ideal position that they have the most used headset on a platform that?
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Like they have no control over that, and I feel like they want to use Oculus Home to get people on that, but they don't want people to go to Steam because they created like something that is genius. But for them, it's also a monster because people now just like Oculus Home is just a gateway for Steam.
Different use case.
It's nice for them, but all the data that they could have like gotten out of it goes to Steam, goes to Valve. It doesn't go to Meta.
No, it doesn't. It does.
This cloud streaming could be used for a slightly different thing, right? So remember we had that problem when we had like Medal of Honor come to Quest and it used up so much storage space. Mm-hmm. One of the benefits of streaming is that your onboard storage can be less. So smaller, not smaller physical size, because we're talking about, literally RAM sticks size memory in any of these devices. But memory is expensive. And so if you can drive down the price of the headset and instead point someone back to a data center and usurp control over where they're spending, what they're streaming to, what their primary store will be, then there is like a double win-win benefit there because you're driving down the product price. You're perhaps even streamlining what's available. You might only do a headset in one variant now instead of two, which helps you on manufacturing and logistics and a whole bunch of other things, support included. But that's interesting because if you could, reduce that to say 64 gigabyte or even less, like a 32 gigabyte headset, which is really lean. It's got the operating system and you can put your own user files on it. But basically all of the games that you would install, although they would be Quest titles, we're no longer talking about kind of PC VR titles. You're doing Quest titles on there, right?
No, I think that's pointless because you'd always want to have it locally for, if the internet goes down or something goes wrong, you want to take it to a friend's house, you want to play in the park, whatever you want to do. So I don't see them providing Quest content this way. I do see them providing PC VR content this way because if you say you have a choice, you can buy $1,000 PC or you can pay $20 a month to access PC VR quality content, then you're going to be swayed towards that for sure.
I just feel like this is an experiment, and it's not necessarily about gaming because I think they just don't have the PC VR platform anymore to make it relevant.
I really do.
There needs to be something else there. I think that they want to get.
The PSVR platform is underestimated. I really think so.
But I don't think PC VR is relevant right now, regardless.
That's what I'm saying. So there is something else for them to maybe just research, pure research.
The thing is, they could get this up and running tomorrow, but who's going to jump onto it?
That's what I'm saying. There's nothing to play for
the best rated PC VR game is on Steam. It's Half-Life Alyx.
That's the point that I'm trying to make. Like if Meta is not investing in PC VR, then PC VR is dead. Right? Because we see it. That's basically what happens. But I think that the point that Meta decides, okay, we're going to start reinvesting in PC VR, they will see that market come alive again, and Steam can do what it wants. Yeah. But Steam is still it's a PC platform. The reason why there's so many people using PC VR is because they have PC games on there and they're familiar with the platform. And of course, like Meta wants a piece of that cake because they want to have PC VR on there as well, but at the same time, the amount of data that they can collect through Steam is still enormous.
But the thing is,
you're talking developer relations, really, Rowdy, because once they have the platform capability, it doesn't have to be first not first person, what's the term? First party IP. Like they don't have to necessarily develop it or fund it directly because they've already got people feeding from the trough. The developers will help fill in those cracks.
But the current state of the PSVR market right now is not for the casual that they are trying to target with Quest.
But that's because they're not investing in it. If they start,
no, but I don't think
if they start. I don't know. They already have now a contact with Rockstar, and they now say, okay, we're gonna make Rockstar is gonna make the next GTA, and they're gonna specifically develop a VR section for us. And it's not going to go on Steam. It's only going to go on our market. It's specifically for PC. It's on cloud gaming. Everyone can access it. You pay $20 a month.
But it could happen.
If they, I'm not saying they're going to do that, but if they go that route, they'll be able to revitalize PSVR. They don't want to now because they got a money pig that is called.
That almost sounds like circumventing the power of the Quest and trying to then make games that are not made for the system to then put them on the PC. So I think it sounds way too ambitious to just state that they are going to bring back PSVR. They're not interested in that.
One thing that is a challenge is if you, and this has happened to a lot of big players, if you step away from that production line, you lose your developers. Your talent goes away pretty fast. And bringing that back, like turning that dial back up to high again, costs a lot to reinvigorate.
I can't remember who mentioned it, but they own some decent studios now, like Sanzaru Games, for example, and the Lone Echo devs, Beat Saber.
But those studios, like I mean, it's like an expanding box, right? So you have developers who are working on VR projects, but because of the nature of return on investment for any game studio, that's an expansion thing. Like you'll have contract devs, right, who are really great at VR, and 20 of them you just got to let go because you don't have an active project for a year.
But a bit like Game Pass, the monthly subscription money will help fund these games and help pay for these games potentially
for the service. Yeah, sure. But you need the talent to come back, and
the only reason that I could come up with why they would want to do this is because PlayStation is coming, and those games are going to be way more impressive than what you can play on the Quest.
I agree.
And people are going to be like, "What is this for? Like 8-bit stuff? I just want to play the 8K things." No, with this, they can kind of counter that a little bit.
Possibly.
Why wouldn't Sony have this? I think Sony will be out the gates with this technology
before. I don't think this will be limited to just Meta. I think everyone will have something like this in the future. But like I said, I think it is inevitable. It's just a question of time.
Yeah.
The Oculus as the software platform and the library needs a complete reboot, and you need a lot of money for that.
No, I agree.
A lot of money.
But
I'm sure Meta has enough money for that.
They do.
This is just, again, I would treat this as rumor, speculation. We don't know if this is true. It's very interesting. Yeah, it's very interesting nevertheless. But like I said, if you want to check out PSVR game streaming now, check out Plutosphere and Shadow PC. It's interesting because someone in the chat, Fernando Gallego, said that you played the entirety of Half-Life Alyx as well using a Shadow PC. So
I think that's common. Really,
for one moment, like let my imagination go wild. So you have next year, okay, you have PlayStation VR2 dropping. Then you have this Shadow PC thing. So the Quest becomes as powerful as the PSVR2 in a way, with like just a shortcut. And then Valve was like, oh, but wait, Steam VR, you know what? We'll come with another headset. And then you have like
that's the Decade rumor that we were talking about.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. So then Meta's trying to get people off Steam VR again. Then Valve was like, yeah, no, wait a second, we got a headset for you again.
I hope that happens.
But
I hope that happens.
That's the competition, what we want. Yeah. And then you start to see games, or at least money getting pumped into game development.
Well, let's have good energy today. I'm just going to say that because we've had a good brimming conversation on this topic. So
my blood's boiling now.
Yeah.
So anyway, let's move on. Let's calm things down a little bit. Let's cool our jets.
Okay.
You'll like this.
Cool our jets. I like that.
I'm going to be talking about Top Gun Maverick.
No, Mike, I don't want. No, I'm joking.
I'm going to be talking about Top Gun Maverick, the sequel to the classic 80s movie Top Gun, which just released in cinemas and so far has had a pretty positive reception, I think, in its reviews. But to coincide with the movie's release, Microsoft Flight Simulator have released some free Top Gun Maverick DLC, so you can feel the need for speed for yourself in glorious VR. So this DLC offers quite a bit of content, actually. You get a Top Gun Maverick Edition livery for the F-18 Super Hornet. Nice. 3 training missions for the Super Hornet jet, which has a bunch of different things you get to experience, like radical flight maneuvers, unrestricted takeoffs, low altitude, high speed maneuvering through complex terrain. So you're really going to be sort of like dusting through the canyons and that kind of stuff. Pretty cool. They've got 5 high-speed, low-level challenges that require the utmost skill to navigate, again, through canyons and mountains. This is what really excites me, actually. A carrier deck landing challenge. So an aircraft carrier, you have to land on it with the F-18. And if you've seen this in real life, it's pretty freaking incredible because they use like a hook type and like elastic type mechanism where you land the jet on the plane and it kind of like holds it back. It's completely insane to watch. Like, go and Google it. It's mental.
It's an actual thing.
Yeah.
That's an actual thing.
If you're landing a fighter jet on a carrier, there isn't enough runway on the carrier given the speed of the plane. So they use a braking mechanism. Like Mike said, it's an elastic. It's like a long tensile cord and a hook at the back of the plane. So what you have to do as a pilot, you have to smack it down on the back end. The hook catches the cord, and it basically skids it to a halt.
Yeah, crazy.
Very difficult maneuver to land.
And that's that they actually put that in the game.
Yeah. You can do that. You can do that in the DLC. Plus, they have a never before unveiled hypersonic aircraft that attains speeds of Mach 10 and altitudes greater of 150,000 feet above sea level. And there's a mission to use that new aircraft to roar into the stratosphere.
Is that a Blackbird or what kind of craft?
It's kind of like if you watch the trailer for Top Gun Maverick, there's a scene which shows this aircraft. I don't know, obviously, what context it has in the movie. He obviously has to do some super secret mission where he has to fly this incredible plane, but that's in this DLC as well. The cool thing is...
cool tie-in for Microsoft Flight Simulator. That's
awesome.
Badass.
It's awesome. They actually had all this lined up a while ago, but because the movie got delayed, they delayed the DLC as well. But this is all free, so it's pretty cool. The other thing is... since November of last year, and I think the last time I tried MS Flight Sim was before then, but apparently since then they've added virtual controllers. So you don't have to have a HOTAS, you don't have to use a gamepad. You can actually use your VR motion controllers to grab the virtual flight stick in the cockpit of these planes and control your experience using your controllers, which is pretty awesome. So yeah, I'm looking forward to checking out the movie. I'm planning to see it next week, and then I'm going to check out this DLC as well. So I'll let you know what I think on the next show.
But so Microsoft Flight Simulator, if I think about it as someone who is not necessarily into that kind of stuff, I think about a more, well, let's say, I wouldn't say casual. It's commercial. Very immersive, but it's just more, okay, you fly from one spot to the other and that's it. But this sounds like you turn it into a Red Bull Air Race.
Yeah, it's a bit more.
And that wasn't there before, right? So this kind of, or did you have to just use your imagination to do it?
Yeah, exactly. There are jets,
but now it's like an actual gamified thing.
Yeah, they've put these challenges and training missions in the actual locations where the movie was shot. So they're kind of trying to recreate the movie in that sense. So it's very cool.
Can you shoot rockets on the cities?
I don't think so. Rowdy, no.
Flying to Mike's house straight away
to come up with that.
Just bomb.
Mike's house is first on my radar.
If you want to check it out, you can check it out now. It's been available since Wednesday, so go and download it. And if you need to download the whole game again, I pray for you because it took me forever because it's like 140 gigabytes or something like that, and you have to download it from their servers, which is painful.
I really want to know the comparison between Microsoft Flight Simulator and these kind of combat training missions and like DCS, because DCS is typically the mill sim of flight sims, right? And it has modules that are literally, one plane and you pay 50 quid or whatever for it. And you just do that one plane. And then there's 120 different modules that are each 50 quid. Like it is the most expensive Rolls-Royce simulator that you can get, I think, for standard consumers. So seeing them blend into that territory makes me really curious for like hardcore flight simmers. How do the two compare? Like, how is
I don't think you're going to be shooting missiles and rockets and stuff like that. Whereas you can.
No, but just the actual cockpit, like how realistic is the cockpit, the control mechanisms that you have to deal with. Like for VR, that's really important to someone who wants to be a training pilot in a sim, right?
What I've always experienced, or from what I've seen, is that MS Flight Sim is a better looking game than DCS. I might get flamed for this, But that's just my opinion. I think it looks better. But like you say, it's aimed at the more casual market because you can turn off all the assists and just you don't have to be able to fly anything, and you can fly these planes in MS Flight Sim.
But is there also like some kind of voiceover telling you that you're Tom Cruise?
No, sadly not.
It's not. There's not like really
awesome.
Like a little story. It's like, oh, you're Tom Cruise now. Good luck. And
I think, like you said with the pod racing at the beginning of the show, I'd love if I can just chuck you in the back seat and do some loop the loops and some twists and make you throw up in your headset.
When I said this before, the first time you started talking about this flight simulator, I said I just want to sit in the back as a passenger. And we're like, okay, so where's my lunch? And then Mike has to fly the plane, but also has to make me stuff in the kitchen.
That would be amazing if it was like a proper commercial jet and you had like 50 people in headsets as passengers in the plane during the flight. That'd be amazing.
Well, I know I wasn't allowed to talk about Rec Room at the start, but there is an airport in Rec Room, and there are people who do the contraband. There are people who do the ticket stuff. You have people making food.
Like proper role play.
Yeah. And they are freaking serious about it. If you make a joke, it's like it's not real, they get really angry.
This is so weird. Did Nathan just conceive Microsoft Lunch Simulator?
Dude, it sounds amazing. I would love to do.
So that's MS Flight Sim. Let us know, by the way, if you've got experience of MS Flight Sim and DCS in the chat. If you let us know which one you think is better and why.
I think this is the stuff that I like. When you have games and they get DLC and it's okay, but this is so immersive. This was made for it, and it just sounds super cool. So you watch the movie, and you're like, I can now play something extremely realistic that kind of looks the same, and I think that's just awesome.
But you need a super grade NASA computer to run it.
Yeah, and a lot of like terabytes of.
Yeah.
That's why we need cloud gaming, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
This is why. Yeah. This is why the rumor is true.
Yeah. So, final bit of news this week comes from Joyway, the creators of VR games Stride and Against, both of which I thought were pretty decent games, actually. I enjoyed them both. But they had a third game in the works called Outlier. I don't know if you guys remember this or have seen this game, Outlier. But it was like a kind of roguelike game with shooter and RPG elements, procedurally generated levels. And it launched on Steam. It launched on Steam in early access on the 17th of March, and they were planning to bring this game eventually to the Quest, like they did with Stride. So they launched it on Steam, eventually planned to bring it to Quest. However, it received kind of a mediocre response from players on launch. The game now, 2 months later, currently sits with 76 reviews on Steam, giving an overall mixed review rating. Some reviews praise the kind of movement and feel of the game, but most of them highlight the lack of variety when it comes to enemies and guns, which left the game kind of feeling a bit bare. Many said that they could run through and complete the game in 20 minutes, 30 minutes, maybe even up to an hour. And the thing is, if you're not with a roguelike, if you're not unlocking more powerful weapons or seeing bigger and more powerful enemies, like you say, it's going to get boring really quickly. So now, just after 2 months after its release, they've announced that they're actually cancelling the project altogether. And they're going to be removing the game from Steam and abandoning any plans to bring the game to the Quest. In a statement, they said, "Our plans for this project were ambitious, but unfortunately we overestimated the demand for this game. According to our calculations, we would have had to involve a significant part of the development team to work on this project over the next 8 to 12 months, with a low probability that the project will ever achieve at least financial self-sufficiency. The lesson has been learned, and we will reallocate human and financial resources to our other projects, Stride and Against." The thing is, we've talked about this on the show, that Joyway are starting, we talked about back then that they were starting to get a reputation.
They already had the reputation from the get-go. I warned people for it, but...
Yeah. They had this reputation of not being able to finish games that they started. So they would release games in early access. They had 2 other games, I think, before Stride and Against that they never finished.
Great trailers.
Yeah, they made
great trailers.
They made Brain
Time
Zombies and Time Hacker, and I think one of them is still coming soon. And it's they started putting it on the Steam page 3 years ago, I think.
Yeah. So yeah, they obviously know that they've messed up, but this is the feedback they got from the community. The community are ultimately going to decide with their wallets, what happens here. And I think they're probably just annoyed that why would I put money into another Joyway game when I just don't know if it's ever going to be finished. And that's possibly partly why this game wasn't so successful, because, like I said, it did have some good elements to it that people thought were pretty cool. But I just think people lost faith in them ultimately being able to deliver on their promise.
Like the development team has the talent to make some really cool stuff, but higher ups 100%. Decide for a different kind of like the way they want to make money in the VR scene.
Yes,
is not the way you do it.
No. You don't overpromise and underdeliver, which is basically what they've done, because they've promised a story mode with Stride ever since it was conceived, and Against, I think is a really good music rhythm game, something very, very different. And out of the 3 games, it was the one that felt the most complete because it did actually have a decent amount of content there. But, of course, with any sort of music rhythm game like Synth Riders, like Beat Saber, you want those constant updates, more content, because you want to keep playing, because otherwise once you've played them all a dozen times and maybe made it to hard mode, then you're done.
But I think they are or were, I don't know what they're going for now, but they were very focused on just quick cash grabs to just kind of quickly make money and then go to the next thing.
That's what it seemed,
and then like that business model doesn't work because there's no progress in the companies. Like, people are not like hyped anymore, and then you're not going anywhere. Well, if they really focused on one thing and they made it amazing, then you would get more funding, you could make a bigger game. But instead they just wanted to quickly make money everywhere, and now it kind of got back to them.
And that might not be the case, but that's certainly the community perception of what they're doing. Because we don't know what happens behind closed doors, of course, but that's certainly how it looks.
I think, or at least that's what it feels like, a little shady. I mean, from the get-go, I found them shady. I remember them reaching out to me for Stride, and they said like, hey, we got a new update coming. I said like, listen, if you finish your game first with your story mode that you keep telling people about, then I'll check it out. And then they told me this whole story, like we have multiple teams working on things, blah, blah, blah. And now we get this where I find this company just very strange.
The thing I really like about their titles and their trailers as well is like how smooth their gameplay looks. I think Stride was like maybe the ultimate example of that, is that they do have like parts of that really, I think, like nailed down. And I thought that about
talented. Yeah,
and I saw that about this trailer as well. Like, because I mean, you guys all know I've said that a couple of times already. I would like to see something like Prototype or like Infamous Son or something more like where you have like superpowers and like more like a story-driven mode game. I think that would like just work so great in VR. And this game kind of like, I mean, of course I knew that they weren't gonna include like a story mode, and it felt more like, roguelike, build yourself up. But like the mechanics again, like I do think they have that part again nailed down, and I do applaud them for trying doing that, because that's not an easy task to do. And I hope that like with their future titles, or maybe the when they go a different direction, I do hope that that knowledge that they have in that is being passed down, and that the other developer studios can learn from that as well.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope they get back into the rhythm of just finishing what they started, and then gain the community's trust again, because otherwise then they're not going to get away with releasing another game in early access again, because everyone's going to be like, no way, you actually cancelled this project, like people put money into this.
I just hope they're going to reorganize. Like the dev team is amazing. Like what I've seen looks really, really cool. It's just from higher up, they just need to change the way they want to make money. And really think about the long term, because everything they've done so far is short term stuff. It's all like, oh, here's something fun, give some feedback of what you want to see, and that's it. And like they already kind of proved that they weren't planning on finishing any of the projects so far. I haven't really seen any of the projects yet that has properly been finished.
But like I said, they said that they've learned their lesson, and that they're gonna work go back to Stride and Against. So it's now just up to them to prove.
But I think this was also partly because of the fact that apparently they were located in Russia, and then they were off the store because Meta was boycotting apparently like VR games that came out of Russia. So they had to also move away from there and relocate. So that's also why this is happening. So this is not only because of the community backfiring, it's also because their game wasn't on the store for like 2 weeks, because apparently they're a Russian dev studio. And now I checked their Twitter this week, they're in Cyprus suddenly. So they're also like moving from different parts of the world, moving everywhere. I don't know, like I'm kind of
Cyprus a tax haven. I think it
is. I think so. Yeah,
that's what I remember. It's one of those places that you can.
I always said with them, like, their stuff looks amazing. Just be very, very careful where you throw your money in, especially with these guys. Let's see what they say. If they're really gonna change it up, maybe they should start by taking down multiple projects and just focus on one, and bring the storyline for stride, and then build back the trust.
We do see this actually a fair bit. Like my opinion on Joyway is pretty simple. I think they're out of all of the gold panning developers that are out there, and if you're responsible for checking releases on Steam on a weekly basis, I can tell you exactly this is what you see. You will see like a bunch of Chinese or a lot of Eastern companies in particular that they're gold panning. They're just trying to find what hits. It's kind of like looking for their own personal Beat Saber, but they'll have 12 titles in a back catalog, all with just generic names. Wave Shooter VR. I'm not even joking. Some of these names are so simple that they're like this, but they're like a premium gold panning developer.
Yeah, that's the interesting part. Yeah,
they're sitting on the fence almost between the two sides, right? And they could fall into the bad side, or they could decide to upgrade, learn from it, and grow. And so I hope their at least public response, their PR response to this situation, follows with their actions in the coming years. If they tie the bow on their existing projects, and if they in future, I don't remember which one of you said it, but if they try not to bite off more than they can chew, and commit to a well-scoped endeavor with deadlines, give us deliver to that commitment. I think they can actually blossom into a studio that does very well. Rowdy's right. I mean, the marketing side,
they're talented. They're talented.
Yeah,
they are.
So
there's a lot of potential there.
And the ideas that they're trying are cool, right? They're actually trying out. Like Outlier was a neat idea. But
it was a neat idea, especially because like it released around the same time as Returnal did, and like Returnal is a roguelike, one of my favorite games from last year. It's a fantastic game.
That's coming to PC, isn't it?
Rumored, rumored.
Oh, rumored. Okay. I hope so.
Interesting stuff. Yeah, I just hope they're going to be transparent from now on. Just communicate. If you can't finish your stuff, then don't keep it on the store until like things are at the point where people are like, where did I pay my money for? Yeah.
So anyway, that is all the news. I've wrapped it up. So now it's time to hand it over to Zim, who's going to take over the reins and give us this week's top picks of games releasing in the next couple of weeks. We've actually got a couple of decent ones to look forward to. One that I'm actually really excited for. I wonder if you can guess which one it is.
I hope it's not the one that I cut.
I hope you didn't.
We'll see. We'll see. Probably not.
Mantis VR Simulator 2.
Yeah. As long as it's not the re-release, then you're safe, Mike. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. Releases this week. I've got 3 releases and 3 or 4 mentions to take us through. The first one is quite a gorgeous-looking, I'll say, artisan title. It's called Shores of Loki or Shores of Loci. I don't know. Maybe there's an Italian sway to this one. It's a PSVR Steam-based title. It's $15, £10, dropped on the 24th of May. So this is playable now. This is a single-player narrative puzzle game that is VR specific, boasting compelling characters, cinematic scenes, and surreal worlds. The Shores of Loki, I'll say Loki, but it's L-O-C-I, will transport you to other dimensions to create visions larger than life. So in this puzzle game, it's quite interesting, and I think if you liked Ghost Giant, puzzling places, or you would just simply have a knack for putting together IKEA furniture, then I think this little puzzle gem is for you. You're assembling giants, you're assembling towns and villages to rebuild cities of this place, and you get to see it, assemble and transform before your eyes with some quite gorgeous animations. So
I like the way this looks.
Yeah, it looks really enticing. From the reviews on Steam, I would say it's short and sweet. So it's about 2 hours in length in terms of gameplay time, and for $15 or around about £10. You just have to know that going in, I think, so that, if that's what you want something kind of short and sweet but well developed, looks good. So that's Shores of Loki. And that is out already.
Yeah.
Next one, another looker. Okay, and this one has been on people's radar for at least the last 2 months. The Last Clockwinder. This is coming as well. This is 2nd of June, so just a couple of days away for this one. It is what I would call a clone automation game with a heavy story. So you are responsible for these clockwork contraptions, almost these like little robots they call gardeners. And you make intricate contraptions out of these clones of yours while restoring life to this ancient tree. So your mission is to basically repair the clock tower, which was an ancient haven for the galaxy's plants and seeds. And you use the clockwinder's gloves to turn every task into a looping clockwork automation. And so I think that that's a really interesting spin. We've seen this in VR before. It's been a little frustrating in some of those titles for me personally. I do like puzzle games. I'm not quite as much of a puzzler, I'd say, as Mike is. He's got the mind for it, maybe more so than I. I have the patience for it, but I don't always succeed. We won't mention past titles from End Dreams right now. But this looks like interesting because you're able to set up an interconnected system of automatons, and then you're like harvesting, growing resources, and working to save the clock tower together. So
I love the look of this game. I love the look of this game. It looks awesome.
Concept as well, yeah.
And I saw clips from the developers where instead of just doing the action and passing on the stuff, some of the automatons, they were making them juggle and do like funny little skits. So like they kind of like,
and stuff. Yeah.
yeah, which kind of like broke it up a little bit and had a little bit of fun with it. But yeah, it looks awesome. I'm really looking forward to checking this one out.
I like how, like, for if you were going to make a clone automation game, all the other games I've played have been like, oh, these are echoes of your spirit or some technology or whatever. This story actually binds very well with the subject matter at hand.
Yeah.
So I hope it will be as adorable and as accomplished as it looks, because it looks quite good. And from all of the vocals that you can hear when you hear the audio trailer, I know we're not playing that for you now, you just see the visuals. Sounds good. Usually I hear good audio and I think, okay, this is a game that's been catered for. It's been looked after. So there's that. That's the last Clockwinder. Okay.
Nice.
Next of the big title releases that we have coming up on the 9th of June, we've got Green Hell VR. So if you're in for a survival game and you want to they call it an open world survival game, set in the Amazonian rainforest and based on the successful PC title. So this is a PC title. It's kind of been rebuilt for VR. We've seen a lot of success in titles like this. I think back, hearkening to, we talked about Resident Evil earlier. What about Alien Isolation? There's plenty of titles that have put you into the throes of difficulty and had you kind of struggle your way out. So this is going to be no different. You have to maintain your hunger, your thirst, fatigue, and even your mental health, just like we have had to do in the last 3 years of all of this lockdown and plagues and nonsense that's been going on. I'll tell you, locusts are probably coming next. But it's not locusts you have to worry about in the jungle. It's more leeches and wild animal attacks, tropical diseases. These can strike you from anywhere. So you've got to go in with your crafting hat on and make yourself survive in the jungle of the Amazon.
No cannibals in this one?
Thank God, no cannibals in this one.
Cannibals.
Oh, what was that? What was that game with the cannibals? The Forest?
The Forest.
Forest, yeah.
Okay, no,
dude, have you ever finished The Forest? Like I played it for fun once, and this was like, yeah, but there's a whole like campaign to it, and then I dove into the caves, and it gets really weird.
The caves, it goes really on tilt when things start hunting you.
Yeah. There's a whole, like, you can finish the game actually. There's an ending to it. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So there you go. That's to stroke your survival itch. Would be Green Hell VR. Have any of you guys played the PC version of this?
No, I was going to say, actually, this is because they released on Quest, didn't they, recently?
Yes.
But I remember Gamertag being particularly unimpressed with the PC version.
Oh, right.
Particularly the PC version. So I'm not sure if there's differences between the two, but yeah, I'll have to look into that.
Yeah, exactly. I did play Green Hell when it launched on Quest, and this is the Steam one we're talking about here. But I found it to be, the story was shallow, what I call it. Like your character, you don't really feel so much in the character. And Rowdy particularly knows this about me. Like, I'm very HUD sensitive. How they use that in the game wasn't to my liking. I liked was it Shadows in the Smoke? No.
Song in the Smoke.
Song in the Smoke, much better
as
a survival title. But this looks a little bit nicer. It's got the old wrap the bandage around your arm type of animation. So there are some nice things, but there's also places like where you snap a branch and you fall. and they just cheapen it and they go to blackout screen, I suppose, to avoid sim sickness. And those are design decisions that I personally, as a VR veteran, right, I don't like them when they do that in games. I'd like to have the choice. I'd like to be able to experience the full scene. Don't just put blinders on me. So
yeah, the chat is saying Sampler19 says the PC demo ran really rough, way better on Quest so far. And then also Rift Traveler said, I tried the Steam demo of Green Hell a while back. It was half-baked back then, but the visuals were fantastic. So maybe it was just a really rough demo. So hopefully this final release is much better. Fingers crossed.
Well, I think Mike would skip any of these. He would just play Island Time VR instead. With the talking crab on the rock.
Wilson, the talking crab. Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Yeah. All right. So those are our 3 releases. Let's get on to a couple of like DLC mentions, things that are coming out. First off, a little bit earlier, for those of you who started at the beginning, I started with my highlight of golfing. So I'm going to stay on that topic just for a mention quickly here. So there's an ocean course at Kiowa Island. Don't ask me where that is. I didn't look that up. But it's a beachline golf course. And this is coming to Golf Plus. Or I should say has come to Golf Plus. There's rough, tall grass. This is the toughest course yet in Golf Plus. So if you're looking for a real like technical challenge, this is one that is actually a real life course. And so they've added also challenges in the game, like achievements, like an achievement system to help you up your golf game, which I most certainly need. Every week I'm getting walloped by my father, and I will continue to report if having a little bit of a doohickey helps me out there, because maybe it'll save you too. But new Golf Plus content, I love it. It's become one of my favorite like social experiences. Just hanging out on the green, chipping away, feels quite realistic. So this new course looks quite good. They had an Alpine one that was free recently. They've got this course, Ocean Course at Kiowa Island, just landed as well. Okay, another thing for people looking for social experiences, let's move to Zenith, The Last City. This is a big MMO. A lot of people have had good fun with Zenith, but like its predecessors in the MMO VR space, content obviously can run dry if you are a proper VR MMO player, a proper MMO player, because you're sinking a lot of hours in. So no date just yet, but news of further content is abreast. So we have the Celestial Throne update coming, which has 6 new instanced dungeons, new loot, and new puzzles and new adversaries. So that's new bad guys for you to go against. So that's just a quick little feed of that's something coming. If you're a Zenith player, then maybe get hyped up for that.
I do wonder how many people are still playing that game.
There was so much hype around its launch.
There was
so
a lot of
hype.
hype. Yeah.
Mostly also because it was so multi-platform. You could play with people from all different platforms. I think the content launches for this one, just like what we've seen with like Pop 1, will like regular content launches will certainly help bring people back, remind them of the game, and draw them back in. I do still feel like we're not as mature yet in VR to have what I'll call like a perma MMO player, right? You don't have someone who's just playing Zenith and that's all they're playing all the time.
Yeah.
Right. If you are, correct me, but I
had a lot of fun playing with like Buck and Reese. You know, we played it a fair amount, but it just, as much fun as I had, it just doesn't draw me to go back.
Yeah. Are you an MMO player though? Because that's kind of a special. You know what I mean? Like I'm the same. I'm not an MMO player so much. I don't really appreciate the grind.
Big brain stuff.
Yeah, that's it.
It's kind of weird. Like you do like puzzle games, it's big brain stuff, but MMO is like also maybe even a bigger brain thing. I don't know.
It's grindy,
or longer,
right?
maybe like longer brain thing. Like
it's just the amount of time you need to spend, like put in them in order to like get to something.
Yeah,
I'd love to play an MMO, but it's just like the amount of time you need to do
sad rowdy.
I'm not the only one though. Elena in the chat says got bored with Zenith. Was a bit sameish.
I just don't hear much about it anymore, so I'm just wondering like what's happening to this game.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. Well, one of us can dip in and find out one of these days. Maybe when this launches, we can go in together if you guys.
Well, you only last like a minute on stream, so it's definitely not going to be you.
All right, let's go to the next one. So, like Demio, definitely a big fan of Demio, and we've got a couple of new things both out and coming for Demio. So, the first one is the Heroes Hideaway. They just dropped so this is like a 4-player meeting spot that you can go and check out other people. I think that actually extends maybe to 8 players, but you can go down and you can check out a few different things. Like there's tomes of enemies, you can flip through that. Now they've introduced a new feature. They call it the painting party. So you can take those awesome little miniatures that you play in the game.
Good.
And
you
can actually take like a palette, almost like all the rake of Q1 painting games and apps that we got. That's now in Demio. So you can go in and like have some fun with your buddies hanging out. The cool thing is they've got a boombox, so you've got some cool groovy tunes as well that's available in there that you can jam out to while you're painting and socializing with your buddies. What I understand at this time, and this is kind of the disappointing part for me, I hope they are listening to the community. I don't believe what you've painted on your character you can bring into the game with you.
No.
I really think they should bring that through, because I would love to paint my own character and have it look totally derpy and then play in the game with the lads.
100%.
But the characters that you can paint, are those the ones that you play with as well, or are those usually the ones that are these side characters, or actually the main
characters
usually play
and
with?
enemies? You've actually got enemies and people like Klippo, the little like store guy. You've got
that would be amazing, where you can just choose, like you can take off this box, like I do the painted enemies and the painted heroes, and just kind of choose between them.
Yeah, like you can customize them, and then like, we're gonna roll with Nathy's like derpy enemy set, right?
Yeah. Exactly.
I love this because I'm one of those guys that has always kind of like walked past like the Warhammer shops and like looked inside and was like, oh, I used to paint models as a kid, like with planes and tanks and stuff, but you just don't have space for that kind of stuff anymore as an adult. So I always kind of look in with envy at these stores that do that kind of stuff. So I can't wait to try this out. I really want to try this out. So if you guys are up for it, I'm up for like just hanging out and painting.
Just painting
characters. Yeah, absolutely.
That's fun, yeah.
We've got a few things to catch up with now that Zim's got a rig again. So
Space Rock Galactic, like I can't
Deep
wait
Rock
to play that
Galactic,
with you guys.
Deep Rock Galactic, yeah.
Can't wait to play that with you guys. That's
I've been playing that with the kids. For the first time, I've had
game.
I was always like three people and then like a friend. But we finally got it now, where like my wife is joining.
That you started it, or did you play it before?
Oh no, Rowdy, you were one of 2 people who directly influenced me picking that game.
Oh,
up.
really?
Yeah, you recommended it, and then it just spread like wildfire. All my family play it,
wow.
and I'm like level, I don't know, 37 or something. I'm quite.
That's the annoying thing, because like I got it for free on PlayStation, so I played it on PS5 over Christmas a lot, and I'm quite high level on there. Been doing some of like the high level dungeons and stuff, and now I have to play on PC, a level 0 noob with you guys.
Dude, I spent when I came off my PSVR, where I started my Skyrim play, and I came to PC, I spent 2 solid weeks, all kinds of forums, trying to find a way to unencrypt the save file from PlayStation and bring it to PC. Yeah. There was no way. PS3 you could do it, PS4 totally locked down.
Yeah, sounds like you got to buy an account on eBay, Mike.
That's something
from a shady salesman.
All right, I got one more for you. Okay, sure. This is me both dreaming and begging a particular developer to come back. Rowdy, definitely roll this clip. So, do you guys recognize the dev name Caves RD?
Nope.
Okay, Caves RD, or Matt Newell, brought us to...
Matt Newell? Brother of Gabe Newell? No.
Brother of Gabe Newell.
Oh, sorry. Go on.
Brought us to Middelsander in Iceland. It was an Unreal Engine.
Oh, I remember you talking about this.
Wait, what's the name of that again? Wait, it had a funny name.
Middelsander.
I remember.
Yeah. You completely preached that. I still remember that. Yeah, it's like religion to me. That's how it sounded.
You can call it a very lightweight like walking sim. Plus, you find a DSLR and you're taking photos in it, and you're supposed to complete like a 6-shot puzzle. Like you go to certain places in the island, and you have to match the photos. And so you're like playing. It's almost like a Pokemon Snap type thing, but very basic. And this guy, about 6-7 months ago, decided he was going to switch away his focus from VR. And I am gutted at this news. I found this out. He's been working away on other Unreal projects, and this one just looks incredible. It shows cycling down a dirt track. It shows like a drone flying over this beautiful, beautiful scene in Italy, Lago di Braies. And I'm just here begging, Matt, please come back to VR. You've got a particular craft at making the world's like most relaxing scenes. There's very little beyond like Sound Self that has made me feel as at peace as his projects before. So if you are looking for something,
I'm trying to find the video because the Twitter link is not working. So
okay,
do you know what the title is of it?
Oh God, no! I sent this earlier.
Yeah, I know. But
you should have used some
Twitter link
onions, though.
Did it break?
Yeah, it says. I think there's something wrong with Twitter specifically.
It's in the chat now.
Yeah, no, it's not a Twitter link. It was a YouTube link.
I know, but like with Twitter, when you post links, they get converted to a Twitter link.
Okay.
See,
okay,
why
put it in
didn't
chat
you?
If you can.
Why
that
didn't you
works,
tell
that
this
works.
emotional story while like using onions, so you would cry as well, so it would kind of be more, so on the screen. So he's like, oh, this poor man.
Pull on his heartstrings, bring him back. But
yeah,
like compared, how there's things like Liminal, and there's been other relaxing VR apps. I always find those. They scratch the surface of relaxing, but generally they're just like a scene. You look around and you're like, I don't feel anything. My soul is not.
What was
getting
the one
mended.
from End Dreams again, where you could like throw with coconuts and be in on the ice and stuff? What was that? What was
the one that
name
was
of it?
frustratingly not interactive? That one.
Yeah, the one with like 3 or 4 different environments.
So just to clarify, the video that we're showing right now is a project that he's working on, but it's not a VR one.
Is this Unreal 5?
This Unreal 4, I think, is what he's. Okay. I think he's UE4.
But it's not
still.
VR. It's not VR.
This is not, but his previous projects are. So if you're up for something that's like a 30-40 minutes walking sim, there are 2 titles that are particularly good. The Japanese one, there's a Japanese one where he goes to Tokyo. It supposedly has VR support. I could never get that to function, so I would steer away from that. But Middle Sander Iceland, which I'll put into chat so you have the name because it's very difficult to spell, and then Castle Rock Beach, West Australia. Those are both like really good VR scenes, and so. Even if it's a couple of years from now, look out for Caves RD. You can check it out at Caves RD on itch. Does some amazing.
The mountain biking looks crazy.
It looks good, right?
If you're listening, totally check out our YouTube show because this is just crazy. It looks. Nice. It's a pleasure for the eyeballs. I can tell you that.
Yeah, but definitely put the pronunciation of Middle Sander in the chat because. Oh, there we go. Yeah, nice.
I totally forgot about it, but I'm still intrigued by it again.
And so that's it. I'll give you a quick recap of the things that I mentioned now, just so that we can kind of wrap this one up. So it was Shores of Loki, right? That's a Steam game. The Last Clockwinder, just across a couple platforms. Green Hell VR launching on Steam and Meta stores. Those are coming up. Look out for those. A bit of Golf Plus, Zenith, and Demio content coming your way. And my personal prayers to Matt Newell from Caves RD. Come back to us, buddy. We need you.
Nice. Definitely.
I'll donate $5 to make it happen. Okay, $5.
I'm sure that'll sway him. Yeah. So let's wrap up the show. I'll do a quick reminder. Someone did ask some questions in the chat, so maybe I'll read just a couple of those out too. But yeah, definitely looking forward to checking out the MS Flight Sim Maverick DLC and the Last Clockwinder. They're the 2 on my priority list. I've also got the Pico Neo 3 Link coming actually early next week. So maybe I'll have some impressions of that as well. So yeah, we can talk about that on the next show. Yeah, definitely because of the compressionless, PCVR.
The Linky Link.
Yeah.
German audience, pay attention, right?
Yeah, well, a lot of people are calling this Quest competitor, but there's a lot more than just the hardware. So we'll talk about it in the next show. But just a reminder of the show time so you don't miss the next show. It's live streamed every other Saturday on YouTube and Twitch. The show goes live at 7 p.m. in Europe, 6 p.m. in the UK, and 10 a.m. Pacific time. You can also check out the audio version, which is available on iTunes, SoundCloud, and on Spotify. If you've enjoyed this show, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss our future shows. Apologies for the technical issues at the beginning and me not being able to talk properly, but we got there in the end. So, question from the chat. Any of you lads tried the new Catwalk C2 yet? Any interest? Well,
is it already out?
I think they've potentially sent them out to a couple of people that have maybe talked about them in a positive light in the past.
That's right.
But as we do not talk about them in a positive light, we're not included in that mailing list. But maybe I should hand it over to you, Nathan, because you actually got to visit their factory and try their last omnidirectional treadmill, and I think a bit like me, you weren't that impressed with the experience overall.
It's been a while ago, so I made a whole video on it. If you want to get the full details on it, I tried the first generation Catwalk C for consumers, it just like a lot of people are joking about it nowadays, calling it a slide mill, and
that's exactly what it is.
That's exactly what it is, and it's just like learning how to walk again in a new way that doesn't necessarily make sense.
You feel like Bambi on ice.
Bambi on ice, nice.
And some games work really well with it because they have software that you can. It's kind of like Farpax where you can kind of turn the dials and make it work, but I still find it very experimental. And it's not the solution for VR locomotion, I would say. Yeah. I mean, I get it. Like, it looks kind of cool because Ready Player One stuff. But yeah, I'm not completely. I would love to try the second one, but as Mike said, like, since I made my review on it, I haven't really heard much back from them anymore. So I don't know. Yeah. But yeah, it's not like the thing that I find interesting if they start getting that like infinite deck thing, you know, where it's like this. Yeah. I don't know what it's called. It's like being on an escalator or something. It's kind of cool.
I think we'll bypass that and go straight to in your brain.
Okay. Wow.
That'll simulate it.
Wow. It's way easier to solve that problem.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think so. Also just space. And the thing is, like, I think it's kind of a nice product for VR arcades. I think it's kind of like nice, gimmicky, something a bit unique and different. You know, you can't try that anywhere else. But space, you know, you don't want a big treadmill in your play space. You know, it's just impractical. And plus, like, you don't want to be running on something like that for an hour, 2 hours. You're going to be exhausted. So,
but you would be surprised how many people still buy this or want to try it because you just have to try it at least once.
It's the dream, and I remember having the same dream. You know, it's the Ready Player One dream. You see him running on the treadmill. You think it's the coolest thing ever. It looks so futuristic, and I totally get that. And I felt exactly the same way up until I tried one. You know, I tried one which was the Omni, and I was just like, there is no way I would ever buy one of these. Even if they sent me one, I wouldn't use it. Even if they sent me one for free, I wouldn't use it.
Yeah, nightmare, right? Like putting it anywhere in any, I think, UK home. It just doesn't belong, right? That's too big.
It's wholly impractical. But
I actually think, I mean, if I can comment real quick on that, I don't think that, I mean, it's the best solution that we have for sure. It's just not a solution for the locomotion problem that we have in VR, right? Yeah. I actually think that the best solution for VR, far better than injecting it in your brain, is the thing that we've seen before, where they try to make you think that you're walking into a certain direction, make you believe that your space is actually bigger than it actually is, and I think that
like
is
T for God.
Exactly. I think that is
you're saying
the
room
best
scale
solution. Room scale or like a bigger environments, even going outside parks and that kind of stuff. I think that is a far more reasonable and plausible solution than having a brain interface built in order to simulate movement.
There's a problem with that, though. There is a problem with that, Rowdy, because, like, I don't know about you, but one of the special things that VR brings me, I agree with you that's probably the best halfway house solution. The reason it's not a solution for me is, like, the muscle memory that I get, the spatial awareness of my surroundings, like remembering to go back to a specific place in space, like in three-dimensional space, is like another piece of you as a human. And when you try to trick that, you do sense it. You do notice it. Like you notice it in T for God. When you're like,
if the space is big enough, you will definitely.
And you've got a massive space sim. You've got like a VR dungeon now.
Yeah, you can.
But what I mean is, like, there's definitely a feeling that you're being tricked. It doesn't feel natural when you're doing that. I agree. You can walk around in this space, and I've basically maxed out T for God's space setting, and it's been a really good time. You forget that you're VRing, but you don't. There's still this like inkling feeling. It's like a gut feeling to say there's a room I was in.
But it's far easier to improve on that than to build something into your brain that will mimic movement or that will make you feel like you move. Because that will, trust me, we're far, far, far away from that still.
Yeah, okay. I hear you.
In Elon Musk, I trust.
I still think like if you're interested in VR treadmills, you know, like see where you can try one. But don't instantly buy one and then think that's not very smart, because it could be, or you think this is the most amazing thing, because you also need to give it some time. Yeah. But most will, I think, say that it's just not there yet. What's funny, like you see sometimes people buy it and then they're very excited about it, also because it's quite expensive, and then after like a few months' time, you do see them like getting sold off again. So
it's kind of like it's like an old solution to a new problem.
Mm-hmm.
But it is a good business because it looks, as Mike said, it looks amazing. It's kind of cool. So I don't blame people for, thinking that it's the next level thing that they have been waiting for.
Yeah. Agreed. Definitely go and try one. If you want to buy one, go and try one.
Or watch my video if you can't.
Or watch Nathan's video. Yeah. So that is the end of the show. I hope that answered your question. Thank you all for joining us live. Really appreciate it. We'll see you in a couple of weeks' time. Until then, have a great couple of weeks and take care. Bye-bye for now.
Bye.
See you later.
Bye.